As we come together this morning, we invite you to turn to someone around you during the prelude and answer the focus question this week, which is, how are you doing this week? Good morning. Welcome to Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Steve Daniel. My pronouns he, him, his. I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. I'm joined by our worship leader, Reverend Chris Rothbauer, whose pronouns are they, them, their. We're excited to welcome you to our worship service this morning. We're so glad to have you here today, whether you're joining us for the first time, virtually, in person, and also whether you've been here longer than you can remember. Here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome among us. Please be our guest after the service for coffee and conversation in the fellowship hall, which is across the way there. As a community, we also welcome the sharing of joys, sorrows, and concerns. You're welcome to fill out the joys and sorrows slip on the table near the Welcome Center, in the pockets of the chairs, and then here at the joys and sorrows table in the front of the sanctuary. And/or you are welcome to light a candle. This can be done at any time before the service or during the service from the beginning through the offertory. A quick announcement. In your order of service, you should find a sticky note. Please write a message of support, encouragement, or hope in this difficult time for your Horizon sibling. After the time for all ages, we will ask you to post your message on the board, and it'll be there towards the back. And then after service, you may come up and take a message that someone has written for you. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to write something. If you don't finish up, we'll have a little bit of pause after the time for all ages prior to the offertory. And if you need an extra sticky note or you didn't find one, we have a couple of ushers coming around to help.
Our call to worship this morning is from Rebecca Savage. We gather together today with sacred intention to declare that justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible, not here, not quite yet. The seeds have been planted time and again, and we remember all those who went before us, who made beloved community a dream that could be realized. Justice is our prayer. May our time of worship together continue to water the budding trees of our diverse interdependence. May our time of worship give air and nourishment to the parts of our collective spirits that need to grow and thrive, that embrace equity as a known way of being. Justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible. May it be so. Let us worship together.
Our chalice lighting this morning is from Lisa Doge. What if sometimes it's not about a light in the darkness? What if sometimes it's about sparking potential into possibility and possibility into existence? What if sometimes the flame that burns in the chalice of our faith is nothing less than the ember of hope and nothing more than love set ablaze? What if sometimes all we need to do to follow this flame is to follow this flame, one among scores, hundreds, thousands of steadily flickering flames across the land and among so many people on the way to justice and into the land of peace? What if we dare to kindle that chalice? Please join me in our affirmation, which is printed on the back of your order of service and also projected on the screen. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 1 in the gray hymnal, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never rise. Bright glazed windows may the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the of the storm. This heart, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these storms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner to a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
Good morning. I'm Donna Deere, and I'm going to be doing the Time for All Ages today. Horizon partners with MetroCrest services to help people in need in our area. Each Sunday, you are encouraged to bring personal care products and shelf-stable food items for their pantry. You're also invited to bring items to Horizon's Little Free Pantry, which is presently empty. If you brought items today, please pass them to the aisles for a young person to bring up to the front. And at this time, I'd like to invite our young people and young at heart to sit in the front row for a story. All right, good morning. So usually we have a story here that's fiction. Today we're going to have a true story about a true person. And this is a true story called Walking with the Wind, and it comes to us from John Lewis, who was a great leader in this nation, and he died just a couple of years ago. He was a politician and a civil rights activist. Many people were sad to lose him and thankful for all that he has done to bring justice in our nation. He had lived a long and full life, asking of himself and asking of all of us to show up for justice, to do what we can, and just a little bit more, to make sure that there was more fairness in our country. Can any of you all tell me what civil rights are? Probably, yeah. So just so you get a little cue about John Lewis, civil rights are personal rights that protect individuals from discrimination based on race, color, sex, origin, or religion or national origin. So John Lewis grew up in a large family, and he would spend time with his aunts or uncles, with his siblings and cousins. There were many children in the neighborhood, and they would play together. Mr. Lewis tells us about a time when he was playing outside his Aunt Senevia's house with about 14 other children when a storm, a big storm, arrived. The kind of storm that made him very afraid. Are you all sometimes afraid when there's a big storm? Yeah? Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm going to be telling a story from John Lewis's perspective. So it's like he's talking. So when I say I, it doesn't mean me, it means Mr. John Lewis. Aunt Senevia was the only adult around, and as the sky darkened and the wind grew strong, she herded us inside. Her house was not the biggest place around, and it seemed even smaller with so many children squeezed in. Small and surprisingly quiet. All of the shouting and laughter that had been going on earlier outside had stopped. The wind was howling, and the house was starting to shake. We were scared. Even Aunt Senevia was scared. And then it got worse. Now the house was beginning to sway. The wood plank flooring beneath us began to bend, and then a corner of the room started to lift up. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. None of us could. This storm was actually pulling the house toward the sky, with us inside. That was when Aunt Senevia told us to clasp hands. Line up and hold hands, she said, and we did as we were told. Then she had us walk as a group to the corner of the room that was rising. From the kitchen to the front of the house we walked, the wind screaming behind us. Outside, sheets of rain beating on the tin roof. And then we walked back in the other direction as the other end of the house began to lift. And so it went back and forth, 15 children walking with the wind, holding that trembling house down with the weight of our small bodies. Do y'all think you could do that? If we had 14 of us, the house was rising up, that you could do that? It's pretty hard, wasn't it? So can you imagine what it would be like to be inside that house, afraid that it might fall apart from the destructive force of the wind and rain, from the whole storm? Would you be scared? I'd be scared, yeah. I'm so glad that John Lewis wasn't alone, that he was there with his friends and family. I'm so glad that they figured out a way to work together. When John Lewis was much older and was writing down the words of his whole story in his memoir, his whole astounding life, he wrote these words. And again, this is in his voice, not mine. When More than half a century had passed since that day, and it has struck me more than once ever over those many years that our society is not unlike the children in that house. Rocked again and again by the winds of one storm or another, the walls around us seeming at times as if they might fly apart. It seemed that way in the 1960s at the height of the civil rights movement, when America felt as if it might burst at the seams. So much tension, so many storms. But the people of conscience never left the house. They never ran away, they stayed, they came together, and they did the best they could, clasping hands and moving toward the corner of the house that was weakest. And then another corner would lift, and we would go there. And eventually, inevitably, the storm would settle and the house would stand still. But we knew another storm would come, and we would have to do it all over again. And we did, and we still do, all of us, you and I. So children holding hands, walking with the wind. And that's our story today. Thank you for listening to this story about Mr. John Lewis and the importance in working together to solve problems, including our responsibility to protect democracy in our United States. Now let's sing you out to your rooms.
We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. Thank you to our members and friends who give and pledge electronically. If you would like to give electronically, you may do so on the Breeze app or at horizonuu.org/donate. During the offertory, if you would like to go ahead and post your Post-it notes, please feel free to do so. The offering will now be joyfully given and received. Thank you for your generosity.
Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis 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 pacem, pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem, pacem. Dona nobis pacem. Dona nobis pacem. nobis pacem, dona nobis pacem, dona nobis pacem, dona nobis pacem.
A reading from Glennon Doyle. Question: I'm really struggling with anger lately. I just feel angry all the time. What is wrong with me? Answer: there is nothing wrong with you because you are angry. Anger is a normal human instructional emotion, just like joy. It's just that we as women, just like every marginalized group, are trained and tamed to be ashamed of our anger. It's important for every single marginalized group to be trained and told over and over again that if they are angry, that means there's something wrong with them. Why would power structures want marginalized groups to believe that their anger is something to be ashamed of? Because people who do not struggle with their anger, but instead embrace their anger and harness their anger, are people who demand change. The only people who have ever changed the world were people who were pissed off and who stopped trying to manage their anger or fix their anger or struggle with their anger, and instead embraced their anger, harnessed their anger with other angry people, and unleashed it in creative ways to make change. What if instead of struggling with our anger, we consider that we feel angry inside? Maybe it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with us. Maybe it means there's something wrong. Not wrong with us, something wrong out there, something we might be able to help change. Women from time immemorial have been gaslit by the entire world. Every time we feel angry, someone tells us we are crazy. The truth is, angry women are not broken. We are just some of the only people who are responding appropriately to a broken world. Most of my activism in the world is done because I have trusted my anger, because when I get pissed off, I just assume that there is something to be pissed off about. And I find other pissed off women, we pull together our genius, our talent, and our resources and our energy, and we unleash it. The really cool thing about anger is that when you use it out there, it disappears for a while. When you stop swallowing it over and over again and studying it and trying not to be it and feeling ashamed of it and not speaking your truth, when you use it, it's fuel. It burns up, and then you settle down, and then you just settle back down until you get pissed off again. So please join us for the doxology, which will be printed on the screen above.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
We now take time to honor the sorrows and joys of this community, knowing that we're all interconnected and what affects one affects us all. A sorrow from Becky Walters, prayers and support for healing Alan. A joy from Sue Riddenauer. I completed the training to be certified as a Texas Master Naturalist. A joy from Marianne. My beloved cats Blaze and Allison got to make it here today to hear Tora and I sing. A joy on behalf from Saj and Alexis. So proud of our daughter Amaya and the Flower Mound High School Marching Band for placing first last night at the BDA Super Regional Competition. We love you. A joy on the day of Beth Blake Hedges and Alan Sproat's 33rd wedding anniversary. A joy from Sandy Steele. Huge thanks to Dave Troiano and Sarah Barrel-Harrop for their efforts to drive out the vote for Horizon and Unitarian Universalism in Texas. And a huge joy for sharing in the wedding yesterday of Sean and Bethany Pruitt here at the church. We love them, and thanks to all of Horizon members who volunteered. And joy, on Veterans Day, we want to remember all the veterans who have bravely served our country. And we light a candle this morning to honor all the joys and sorrows which have gone unspoken and reside only in our hearts. Please join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation in whatever way feels right with these words from Liz Weber. After the reading, we'll have a space of silence, which will be broken by our responsive hymn, number 1002 in the Teal hymnal, Comfort Me. Spirit of life, help us to be present with all that is our life, both our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys, so that we can truly live, engaging fully in our life and in our community. Spirit of community, help us know that how linked we are, how each one of us and each one of our cares touches us all. Help us to ask for support when we're in need and offer our support to others when we're able, so that we may rest in the solace of one another's love. Spirit of love, and help us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, so that we might fully embody love and resist hatred. Spirit of resistance, help us to stick up for what is right, even when we're tired or afraid. Help us dream of the world as it should be and act to bring that world about. Help us to find hope each day. Spirit of hope, help us through this day and each day. Help us to be present for all that is our life. For all this we pray. Blessed be.
Comfort me.
Reading from Timothy Snyder. Life is political, not because the world cares about how you feel, but because the world reacts to what you do. The minor choices we make are themselves a kind of vote, making it more or less likely that fair and free elections will be held in the future. In the politics of the everyday, our words and gestures, or their absence, count very much. The symbols of today enable the reality of tomorrow.
The Buddhist scriptures tell us that Siddhartha Gautama was raised in luxury and privilege. The young prince was given every earthly opportunity to prepare him for the day he would take over his parents' throne. He wanted for nothing. But his parents didn't stop there. The young prince was shielded from knowing that suffering existed. Sickness, poverty, all manner of hardship and pain were kept at an arm's distance, to the extreme that he never even left the palace for fear of what he might see on the outside of the walls. The fear was how knowledge that hardship existed would impact him and his future role. But one day, the story goes, Siddhartha insisted on going outside the palace. And during this trip, he encountered an old man. He had never seen anyone old before. Through his charioteer, he found out that aging existed and that the aging of the body caused suffering, eventually leading to death. Once he realized the scope of how much pain there was in the world, he couldn't look away. On subsequent trips, it said he encountered a diseased man, a decaying corpse, and an ascetic, and realized that all people, himself included, experience suffering at some point. Even his parents' elaborate shielding could not prevent him from eventually facing his own suffering. Learning this, the young prince left the palace and started his spiritual journey to understand the meaning of this life, a quest that would eventually lead to his enlightenment as the great teacher Buddha, whose life has inspired countless seekers throughout the ages. Now, there's a tendency in Western spirituality to view spirituality and religion as divorced from the social and political issues we face in the world. In this line of thinking, taking a spiritual quest is a form of escapism, often emphasizing personal development and individual quests. If justice is talked about at all, it's as a byproduct of enough people becoming enlightened enough that the trajectory of the world just magically shifts towards a better way of existing. And I can sympathize with this to some degree. After all, with the 24-hour news cycle and a seemingly endless list of bad things happening in the world, it can feel exhausting and disheartening, and there can be a temptation to view church as a place where a person can go into the palace and escape from the pressures of the outside world, where we can gather and forget everything that is making us sad or angry or scared or uncomfortable and just push them down inside. And don't get me wrong, there is a place and a need for this sort of mindless forgetting, of giving ourselves a chance to rest from the pressure. But I don't think church is that place, at least not always. There are plenty of places where we can forget for an hour or two. I mean, I do it plenty of times just scrolling through Instagram Reels on my phone. But the idea that one can just look away from what's happening in the world in the area of spirituality, the realm where we find meaning and purpose and hope in the world, is actually quite a privileged one. And it would require a princely level of sheltering to prevent our delving into how much suffering there truly is in a world that is deeply broken and full of so much hate and division. Once the Buddha realized he couldn't look away, rather than running from the suffering, he went towards it. He viewed the existence of suffering as the greatest spiritual problem of his time and strove to find a way to end it. And though some people have interpreted this as a mandate to retreat from the world, the Buddha himself never stopped working for what was right. And some subsequent schools of Buddhism have taken social justice as a great spiritual calling, taking seriously the Bodhisattva vow to not become enlightened until everyone is enlightened, which sounds interestingly similar to the popular justice saying attributed to Emma Lazarus, "None of us are free until all of us are free." The late Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh once put it, "Do not avoid contact with suffering or close your eyes before suffering." He based this attitude on the Buddhist call towards compassion. How could he turn away from those who were in pain if he was able to look at them and feel for himself how much suffering was within them? He couldn't, because as long as they suffered, he suffered. So part of his work as a Buddhist teacher was to work to end the conditions that cause so much pain in the world. And he took that seriously, originally through his anti-Vietnam War protesting, which ironically made the governments of both the United States and Vietnam pissed off at him, and through his later life. The sign of a mature spirituality, then, is one that is not content, to paraphrase the words of Jesus, to hide away the treasure we have to offer, but realizes that social justice is the core of spiritual practice. Here at Horizon, as at many Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world, we engage in justice work not as a convenient add-on that will make us look better or help us grow or get our name out, but because we realize, as have countless Unitarians and Universalists throughout history, that a meaningful and purposeful spiritual life requires the freedom to be able to live it. Starting with Michael Servetus in the 1500s, who was martyred for religious freedom. This is my call to you today. Get outside that palace and don't look away. If you're feeling sad or scared, don't look away. If you're feeling tired, don't look away. If you're anxious or experiencing grief, don't look away. If you're angry, don't look away. And if you wish I was preaching about anything else today than I am, please, especially you, don't look away. Don't look away right now, because the world needs you and your gifts. If you're not an organizer or a protester, you still matter in this world. We still need your gifts if we're to struggle through what is ahead. I woke up at 4 a.m. on Wednesday morning, and I'd like to blame it on my respiratory sleep disorder, but probably wasn't that. I looked and saw that Pennsylvania had been called, and suddenly a wave went through me, and I realized how much of a state of denial I've been in, functioning as if the election would go the way I wanted it to. I even had another sermon planned this week. When I woke up and looked at that electoral map, I suddenly realized how much I've been holding in because I am tired. Damned tired. I'm tired of saying the same things over and over again. I'm tired of watching as half the country supports policies and politicians who pander to people who want to take away my rights and the rights of the people that I love. I'm tired of feeling like every step forward brings 2 steps back because my very right to bodily autonomy is in question because of a damned fundamentalist interpretation of Scripture. Most of all, I am tired of the uncertainty of not knowing what the future will bring and if it will be better for the generations to come. The policies of the people who will be setting the agenda for the next 4 years are a direct threat to the rights and freedoms I and so many others enjoy, and that's scary. There are people in this room, and I know there are because you've been talking to me this week, who are wondering what's next and scared that the world may be becoming a worse place for them, their family and friends. I've even heard talk of moving out of Texas. Some groups that support the president-elect, many of whom had official roles in the first administration, are writing regressive policies and creating disloyalty watch lists to aid him in his second administration. This is not fear-mongering or hyperbole. I personally know a person on that list, and she has not been able to find a job since she was placed on it. And it really doesn't matter whether the president-elect openly supports these efforts. What matters is that the people engaged in them believe he does and are going to pressure him to follow them, and he has given them no indication that he doesn't. This creates a hostile environment for people to have to live in, and it is that attitude among politicians for the last 60 years that has brought us to where we are. I and they are people who don't have the privilege to look away because we are the ones who have to face it every day of our lives. This is not by accident. Since the gains of the civil rights movement and second wave feminist movements of the 1960s and 1970s, politicians and fundamentalists alike have systematically worked to erase any gains and dial back our country to an imaginary mythical past where everyone was happier because we did things their way. Of course, this world is hostile to anyone who's not a white, straight, cisgender Christian man. They played the long game, and over the past 6 decades, social theorists have watched the slow rise of a new form of authoritarianism that aims to make America great again, while I'm ignoring that it was never really great for a good number of people. What we face today is a drought of compassion, fueled by an ignorance of how certain policies and beliefs are oppressive for a good number. And I want you to hear these words clearly. Donald Trump is not the problem, at least not the whole problem. He's only the symbol that people have latched onto that represents so much that is wrong in our country. The worst tweets that I've seen come out this week are not from Donald Trump. And if he wasn't here, someone else would be. The point we're at has been fueled by a small number of extremists seeking to force their religious values onto others. If one believes in sin, this is the sin for me. I know a bit about this group as well because I used to be one of them. I preached about that earlier this year. Everything that is happening now is what I heard preached in churches openly in pulpits throughout the 90s. This is no accident. and it is no time for looking away. As I was looking for words this morning, I found an essay that Martin Luther King Jr. wrote towards the end of his life on how he copes in a world that feels like it's not getting any better, where every measure of progress seems seemingly invited a backlash to preserve power for those who are used to having it. Whenever I'm asked my opinion on the current state, I'm forced to pause, King said. It is not easy to describe a crisis so profound that it has caused the most powerful nation in the world to stagger in confusion and bewilderment. But the hope, friends, is not to retreat, not to give up, lick our wounds and hope that we'll be able to make it through what's to come. Nor is it to flee, although for the record, I don't blame anyone who does need to get out in the short or long term. And let the fire that currently rages in this country out of control. Because when the house is on fire, it's time to call the fire department and keep calling until they finally show up and take care of it. What I'm going to do is stay and work to make sure everyone in my life is safe. Because as long as some are still suffering in this world, as long as some of us aren't free, we're all suffering, and none of us are free. I can't look away even if I wanted to. Dr. King continues, humanity has the capacity to do right as well as wrong. The past is strewn with the ruins of the empires of tyranny, and each is a monument, not merely to our blunders, but to our capacity to overcome them. That's why I remain an optimist, though I am also a realist about the barriers before us. That is the hope I can offer this morning. I have to believe nothing unjust can last forever. History is full of the stories of empires and governments and rulers whose legacy is pain and suffering. But out of these places, like the mythical phoenix, can emerge the possibility for new life, and life more abundantly. As long as you are alive, and I am alive, and we are alive, there is still the possibility of birthing something new, of shifting the world. In the words of Unitarian minister Theodore Parker, of moving the arc of the universe towards justice. I sometimes listen to Hezekiah Walker's gospel song, I Need You to Survive, at times like this. And it's a reminder that we need one another. I'm going to show up where people need me and support them, as I hope others will do for me when I inevitably need help. I need you to survive, because I cannot survive without good people in this world who are willing to envision beloved community and work to make it a reality. It's going to be difficult over the next few years, my friends, and I can't tell you what's going to happen. But this is my commitment to you. I will not look away. Will you join me in witnessing the suffering going on around us? The way of Unitarian Universalism is as relevant now as ever. If we are the religion where love is at the center, then we must not look away and witness those on the margins whom our society has decided are disposable humans. As the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Bedencourt, said in a post-election message, we draw our purpose from the call to honor and uphold the non-negotiable sacredness of each and every person, the earth and of all beings, bound up together in an abiding love that rests in the call to justice. Here is my challenge. If you aren't afraid, or you don't understand why people are afraid, don't invalidate their feelings. Instead, understand that they have pretty good news, pretty good reason to be scared based on what's happened the last decade. Listen and let them know you support them no matter what, because that's what they truly want to hear right now. Not that they're unreasonable or hysterical, as we heard in our first reading this morning, but that people care about what happens to them. And if you are afraid, know that I'm here for you. I will protect you. And we will get through this together because we need each other to survive. I'm going to close in a minute, but I want to give you a long reading that I read at the choir practice the other night from historian Howard Zinn. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are many, where people behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending the spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live in defiance of all that is bad around us is itself a marvelous victory. I was so honored to officiate Sean and Bethany's wedding yesterday. I don't think they planned on it being the week of the election. They just picked a date. But it felt like a joy to be here with so many of you, to eat breakfast, hear your hopes and fears, and just witness together of what was possible. I hope I'm not telling on Steve, but when he saw the stack this morning, I think he thought they were all going to be concerns. My friends, all but one of these was a joy this morning. This isn't going to erase what's going on around us. It can't. But it can help us find hope to go on. Because y'all, I need you to survive. May it be so.
All right, folks, we're going to sing this song now. I Need You to Survive by Hezekiah Walker. Here's how it's going to happen. The song is 2 verses. The choir is going to sing the whole song through first 2 verses. So pay attention because your turn is next. So after the choir sings through the piece one time, we'll have you stand and we'll have you join us on the second time around. And we may take some ad-libs in there. Just follow me. I'll take us through it. So can we get started? We're going to go kind of slow.
Be with
in body or in spirit, I want you to turn to somebody near you and look them in the face. If you feel comfortable holding hands, hold hands. And sing to that person, I need you. You need me. We're all a part of love's body. Be with me and share with me. We're all a part of love's body. Let's do that again. Need you. You need me. We're all a part of love's body. Be with me and share with me. We're all a part of love's body. Keep going. It is love's will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Let's do verse 2 now. Let's take it up half a step. I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with the words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. Let's do that again. I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with the words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. Bring it home. It is love's will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive.
We extinguish this flame, but not our commitment to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. We do this because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world. I would like to invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, number 1028 in the Teal hymnal, The Fire of Commitment.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion lead to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Before I say the benediction, could we say thank you to Saj and Joel and Lucas and the choir? They learned that song with less than a week's notice. Our benediction is by D. Scott Cooper. The world aches for us to join together and bring about healing, toil for justice, and produce ever-increasing love. This is our calling. Go forth and act accordingly. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.